What's going on there, YouTube? This is Quinn, that's Snazzy iPhone Guy, and this is Mac Madness Monday. Now, if you're like me and you're a student, you've probably had some organization issues in the past. You start writing an essay, everything's great, you finish your essay, it's A quality, except for you forgot where one of the sources was because you're an idiot and you didn't write it down, or you lost it and you're like, crap. And you spend hours and hours and hours scavenging the internet to find this source so that your professor knows you're not making up bullcrap and plagiarizing. Well, I've been in that boat. It sucks. And what this handy little application, Scrivener, does is helps you manage your whole essay from start to finish. And not even just an essay, but it also handles fiction, nonfiction, novels. There's a bunch of famous authors that use Scrivener for their actual content creation. So this is a lot more than a word processor. It's not just Word where you create a document and you save it in a folder. This is an actual studio where you can manage and modify and keep track of every little piece of information, as well as your own, in a single portfolio, which is absolutely amazing. Now, Scrivener, again, as I stated, is used by New York Times bestseller artists. That being said, though, or authors, that being said, it's not an intimidating application. It's really easy to use. After you spend 20 minutes in it, you'll be a whiz of the interface, and it's just absolutely brilliant. It's also cheap, too, relatively speaking. $45 for a regular license and $39 for a student license. $39 is something I would pay in a heartbeat to make sure that none of my information was ever lost, or I didn't lose notes or anything of that sort. It's terrible. Now, when you start and open this application, they give you a bunch of templates to start from, like MLA and APA and research proposal templates, which are all really freaking awesome. They also have a bunch of script writing stuff, poetry, fiction. So if you ever need, this is my favorite section right here because I'm going to be using the MLA and the undergraduate in the future. And let's say you need to create an essay based on a certain structure, or you can even create your own, so that if you're doing the same essay style every week, you can create a template for that, and then you just fill in the information rather than having to make sure your organization right and your spacing and everything of that sort. It's just a mess, and that the fact that these templates are even there is already awesome for Scrivener. Now, this is fully 10.7 Lion compatible. I'm running 10.7.2 right now, and this is Scrivener 2.1. So there you go. I'm going to create a little demo of this application. It's just going to be a plain project, and I'm going to call this test. Okay. Now, first off, once I've created this file, I do save it like I would a regular Word document. But here's one of the most beautiful, most brilliant things you can ever think of in Scrivener. Scrivener does file or project backups. So I can back up in however many intervals I want every time I close Scrivener, or every 20 minutes, or every hour, or every week, or however often I want it to back up. But that'll make a full backup of my project. So let's say I'm a dummy and thought, okay, I don't need these 10 pages of research I do because I didn't like the information and I didn't like the way I worded it. Let's start over. I delete those 10 pages, and only after I'm 3 pages in I went, crap, I seriously needed a source or a quote from there, and now I can't find it. Well, Scrivener with your backups is very much like Time Machine, and you can go back in time to find when you weren't stupid and deleted stuff you probably shouldn't have. So that's something that I do all the time, and that's nice to see. So here's your draft section, all right? This creates a little corkboard image of all your different separate sections. So let's say I'm starting a nonfiction or a fiction, whatever. I'm starting a book, all right? So I type chapter 1, boom, here we go. Now I can go to my drafts panel and type chapter 1, Johnny introduced finds gold on sidewalk. Okay, there we go. That's my chapter heading. That's basically what I need to notate for this whole chapter. Okay, now I can go in here and write my entire chapter. There you go. It's beautiful, isn't it? I mean, what kind of word has a 9 in it? But other than that, it's pretty well done. Okay, this is my chapter. It's really solid. You can also create subdivisions of chapters as well. So I have chapter 1 selected, and I could either call this chapter 2 and keep going, but let's say I wanted to note Johnny's physical characteristics. So I could say Johnny's looks, okay? I drag this as a subsection of chapter 1, and there you go. Chapter 1 is still chapter 1, but I also have all my notes under here as well, which notes how Johnny looks. So as you can see, you can create a hierarchy of folders and different sections and chapters, which if you're like me is wonderful because I like to notate stuff all the time. And in the past, I've gone into Word and notated it with highlighter, but then you have to notate it. You have to take all that off before you print it, and it's a huge pain in the butt. And this just allows you to do it right here, which is really stellar. Okay, so that's cool. You can also, keep going down your draft list. You can also create a new folder. So I could say, okay, this is my new folder, and you could, sorry, I'm going to drag this into here. I could also create a new folder that I could say my final project. Okay, so this is my draft, right? Cool. Now let's say chapter 1 is really great. I can copy that down into my final along with all that stuff, or I can copy it as well and start editing for my final draft, which is really nice to see also. Okay, so that's pretty cool. The Research tab is what is absolutely brilliant and completely vital in Scrivener. Oh, by the way, there's this trash function, which I forgot to mention earlier. So if you did happen to delete those 10 pages, it'll save it until you permanently delete the trash, which you can do right there. Okay, so then everything's gone. But, I mean, it's great because it has a trash where, the crap is out of the way that you didn't want in your paper or your essay or your book or whatever, but it actually is still there. So if you need to refer to it, you can do so, which is cool. The Research tab ought to be one of my favorite parts of Scrivener. Scrivener is absolutely brilliant when it comes to content management. If you're like me, research is always the hard part. You get your research, you write it down, and you just start kind of writing your essay, and you don't stop writing your essay, and you forget where you grab information from and all that crap, and then when it's time to cite everything, you're like, oh, balls, I forgot to do every single part of that. You have to go back and scavenge the internet, and it's just a total waste of time. So, what Scrivener does is, first of all, it persists in your mind with this Research tab. It says, hey, research, so you don't forget it. But what it allows you to do is put a lot of information in this research folder. So I can drag pictures and audio files and video files and PDFs in this Research tab, and it'll keep it all organized. I can notate stuff in this, and that's great because, you can use this little highlighter function right here. I don't have anything in here right now. But I could drag a PDF in here that was, let's say, a court case from 1989, and I'm trying to do a novel, a law thriller, and I need to refer to this court case so I can get some, propaganda against my, to back up my novel's basis. You can also highlight and then notate stuff off to the side as well, which is absolutely brilliant. But let's say you're in this Research tab and you need to grab a whole web page. Yeah, it's a little bit of a daunting task, but you can do it by doing this. Import web page. I type in a web page, and I'm not going to type in one right now simply because I don't really have a web page filled with text or filled with, an article. But I could grab one with an article, and I paste that into the research here, and it's like, what's that application where it's like Instapaper. It basically Instapapers the whole article and goes, okay, bam, there's the article, boom, it's stayed there, and it keeps that research. So even though, the website might change it or remove the article, it'll stay here in Scrivener because you've backed it up with this import web page feature, which is absolutely brilliant because I just love looking for information, but also allowing to back that up when I go to my final draft. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Let's go back to a page right here. You can also go into full screen writing mode, which is cool. As I did say, this is Lion supported, so as you can see, this is kind of a Word type style way of doing things, but you can also go in full screen mode like you can with Lion and see the whole thing all together, or you can isolate it to your actual content, which is what I like to do when I go into full screen. However, you can choose to do it however you want. Okay, so let's keep typing. Let's say Johnny is terrible. Okay. Now I could notate this, highlight this, and I can comment out why he's terrible. It has a timestamp as well as everything, so I can say Johnny is just ugly. So then when I come back later to say, okay, well, why is Johnny terrible? I can see, okay, Johnny was just ugly, which is really nice to be able to do. Very cool that you can kind of strike stuff out and comment and footnote it, which is just absolutely brilliant. You can also do powerful stuff like functions and all this crazy stuff, which I don't even know how to use really, but it's just great. Now, don't worry about formatting because you can also format stuff very easily in here. Your font, your size, your spacing, your color, your highlight text, your all these different subsection notes and all that cool stuff. You can also choose how you indent it, how you subtitle stuff. So, I mean, it really is a powerful word processor. It's not just a writing screen where you write and then once you need to format stuff, you take it to Word. It really does do everything here in Scrivener. Let's say I've completed my whole... No, I'll show you this real quick. Okay, so you can go into here, like I stated earlier with your corkboard, and go chapter 1. You can notate all that stuff out, and then you can have a subsection of this. And then when I go to chapter 1 in this corkboard style, you can see that untitled section here. So there's a bunch of different ways to view stuff. You know, you can view your title and synopsis all through here, which is pretty dang cool. You can also use this synopsis finder. Okay, now there is a very, very, very powerful search tool in Scrivener. Now, it's not like Words where you press Command F and you can find a word if it's spelled exactly right and if it is this and that and the other. You can actually search a super powerful phrase here in Scrivener, which is really cool. Right here you have your inspector, which you can drag off and on. So we have it on right now, but you can toggle that, which is nice to see as well. Now let's say I've created my beautiful essay. Let's just type something so I know that it's good to go, and I'm ready to export it. As you can see, you can compile and export in a plethora of different options. An ebook, a rich text format, a Word doc, a plain text, file draft, EPUB, web page, multi-markdown. So there are seriously hundreds of files and hundreds of formats that you can do this in. So you can say, okay, there's a paperback novel, and you can have comments and annotations removed, which is nice as well. So if you comment crap up, you can get those out of the way when you export, or you can keep them, which is really cool as well. Convert italics to underlines. You can do all this stuff when you export, which is a lot more powerful than Word. So you can do separators, everything. I mean, you can seriously change everything when you export it, which is absolutely brilliant, because sometimes you're not the most organized when you're actually writing, because you're actually writing. And now, instead of having to go back and remove all that stuff, you can do it all here from this Compile tab. Again, as I said, you can export it as a document file, a Word doc. You can also import Word docs as well. So if you have an assignment or something of that nature where it already is a template and it's in a Word doc file, you can import it into Scrivener right here. So yes, it is a 100% Microsoft Word replacement. You do not need Word on your computer in order to use Scrivener, and you can use all of the Word files from clear back to 1991 with Scrivener as well, including the new docx file system, which is absolutely brilliant. I love Scrivener. It's absolutely beautiful. It allows you to organize and get all of your crap out of the way that used to be in the way. I mean, it really does help you focus on what you're actually writing. You'll see your test scores, or your essay scores improve. You'll see just your overall organization improve. It's absolutely brilliant, and I'm really excited to start